So apparently they found a weapon of mass destruction. My putter. All right, boys, go get him over there. And now please welcome Mr. Bruce Jenner. Just wanted to remind you fellas what you're all fighting for.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You know, I'm kicking off Pride Month right, choking on a meat stick to start the show.
Oh, fuck. Oh, I'm glad I made it back from the bathroom in time to see that intro. Like, right when we started the thing, I was like, oh, man, I should pee before we start. I ran in there. I'm like, oh, God, I hope it's a long intro. It was excellent. Dude, that's just like, even like aside from the whole predictive thing that, like, you know, Bruce ended up happening with Bruce Jenner, what up? That sketch is just fucking hilarious. But they're also very Simpsons-like in being predictive, I suppose.
Yeah.
What's going on, Clyde? Oh,
What's going on?
I was going to ask. Okay, there we go. I was going to say, oh, we got.
Am I actually like working?
Do you ever work? I don't know.
Does it work?
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
He's on a little bit of a delay.
Cool. Well, thanks for making
delay.
the effort.
Yeah, I'm trying.
With him, I can
I had
never
to drive by the school.
With him, I can never tell if it's a delay or if it's just his own personal delay.
It's my own delay, I think, most of the time. Yeah.
It's your on delay. What? I know Carlos.
It's an interesting hat you got today.
It's the same hat I always have, dickhead.
Maybe it's just a different angle. Yeah.
It's a different angle. You guys are funny.
Oh, fuck. So what'd you get for showing up late?
Better. Yeah, well, never mind.
Oh, good.
I'm going to go to the park now, I think.
Around while holding the phone. I'm like,
huh?
Just asking too much of him. I'm sorry, dude. We're just glad you're here.
I can only do like two things at once. And stepping on the gas and turning the wheel is enough. You got to pay attention for small children and whatnot.
Got to restart the SpongeBob DVD. The whole thing.
I think we're going to go to the park. So we'll see if I can take you guys out there.
I actually have like a restraining order. I'm not allowed to be within 50 yards of any public park. So I don't know if this counts.
Technically, it's a school. So.
Oh, well then I know that counts.
I might be in question as well, but we're going to roll with it.
All right, guys, here it is live. We're going to see how difficult it is to get into an elementary school. Looking like that.
Fully loaded.
I mean, he looks pretty androgynous. They'll let him right in. They'll probably even start up a story time in the library.
Hey,
let him read
walk
books.
across that parking lot. Yeah. You know
I
how
had
they
some
do.
friends come and visit the farm last week who I haven't seen in years, probably close to a decade, and had a great time. It was a lovely visit, but one of them has since grown a huge beer gut and almost handlebar style mustache, you know, and which is fine, but it was hilarious, and I had to make fun of him for it. But at one point, he's like, hey, man, you know, where can I take a pee around here? And I'm like, well, the bathroom's right there. And he's like, can I just go outside? And I'm like, no, not looking like that. No. If one of my neighbors sees your dick, you know, by happenstance, I still have to fucking live here. And looking like that, that's not a good thing, dude. You can use the indoor bathroom. Usually I'm all about saving water, but no.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't going down that road.
See, I'm outside now. Pretty trees.
It is a lovely day out there, man.
It is a lovely day. It's going to get hot because that's what, it does down here.
It does.
Well, you know, you are in the worst state in America, at least according to
the worst
your
politician in
dear
America?
governor, who's never been allowed to actually serve
Come
a
on, John.
term.
Yeah, that's good.
Stacey
She served her
Abrams
term
says
at- served her
Georgia
term at
is the
Chick-fil-A.
worst state to live in, citing health care and incarceration rates. And she knows all about the health care part of it. I mean, you don't get that obese without having some health problems.
She's probably missing like 5 toes.
Because of the diabetes.
That was a diabetes joke. Yes.
They're gonna take my toe, but this souffle was worth it.
She just sucks that right through her teeth. Yeah, she doesn't even need a straw.
Oh,
Let's see. Democratic gubernatorial candidate Stacey Abrams is defending remarks she made over the weekend that Georgia is the worst state in the country to live, referring to the poor rankings in mental morality and mental
morality.
Wow.
Did you read that wrong, or is she retarded? Which one is retarded?
I'm getting both words wrong. It's
okay.
Maternal mortality. Why can't I say that? Maternal mortality, not mental morality. Two very different.
What does that mean?
What does what mean?
Maternal mortality. Is that like birth rate? Like women having babies are dying more frequently here?
Yes, women dying in childbirth.
Huh. Okay. I never would have.
I gotta say, from like a sales standpoint, like this is just a really bad way to approach this. So like, there's lots of shitty states out there that have shitty, whatever. But the way the politicians talk about them isn't like, oh, our state's so shitty. It's our great state of whatever, and here's what we need to do to improve it. But just from like a sales perspective, as somebody who is in, like she has some sort of political job, right? So like as somebody who's like in charge of running the state, you should never come out and say, this state sucks to live in. You got to put a positive spin. Here's how we can improve.
I don't know what her job actually is, right? Like, I don't know what
as I was saying it, I was like
an advisor.
Wait a minute.
Like, I don't
she
think
doesn't actually do anything.
She's just like a activist kind of, like this last go around, she was like heavily involved with getting like people registered to vote. Like you can register to vote when you renew your driver's license by mail. They say, do you want to register to vote? And you check a box and sign it, and that's like the extent of it. And of course, that grew our numbers in the state drastically. And at the same time, we also had like the highest voter percentage turnout like ever in the state. And it's kind of like, what happened? But I don't know.
Okay.
She sucks. She sucks.
Then I totally rescind what I said. If she is not a government person, then maybe that is the right strategy. If you're trying, maybe it is to just be whiny and complaining. But I still hate that tactic.
Well, but I think it is. But I think that's the culture we're in. Is this like rage culture and
victim-y
it's
kind
awful
of thing.
Here. Yeah, it's awful. We got to make it better because it sucks because of these other people that were in power and made it so hellish on us. And it's like, no, you went to McDonald's on your own, fatty. Like, I had nothing to do with you losing a toe. It's not my fault. You didn't know you were pregnant, and you just, thought you had that extra cheeseburger the other day. I don't know.
There was a baby in the toilet.
Yeah, right. I just don't understand.
All right. She says when you're number 48 for mental health, you're number 1 for maternal mortality, when you have an incarceration rate that's on the rise and wages that are on decline, then you are not the number 1 place to live in the United States. But we can get there. You see, Georgia is capable of greatness. We just need greatness to be in our governor's office. Because I guess she's going to make Georgia great again.
Yeah, I can get with her on the incarceration. I think there's we're still way behind on cannabis stuff, and I think that probably plays a decent part in the whole I don't know, incarceration part of it. But at the same time, like, I don't know. I don't. That's deeper than the governor. A lot of this stuff is, you know.
Well, right, because it's like, especially with
Yes,
incarceration,
I was
it's
going
like,
to say,
okay,
to
well,
what
that's like a
extent?
direct function of the state. But then it could also be, okay, well, lower socioeconomic status does cause like more like crime, right? So that's one of those things. There's a lot of ins and outs. But yeah, I mean, there's get rid of the war on drugs and you solve like half those problems, in my opinion.
You got to consider too, like the one of the couple of the biggest places that are moving to Georgia are people from Detroit, from Chicago, from the Bronx and stuff. And where are they moving to? They're moving to Atlanta, and that's where you get a lot of this stuff.
Well, it's a huge
Atlanta
upgrade for them.
Is it though? I don't know.
I mean, they're
You
doing
had,
it.
Atlanta, I would say that's at least a minimal upgrade, if not a huge one.
You had, I guess, I don't know. I mean, Lori Lightfoot is like pretty cool. I mean, she like is a lesbian lizard and wants to, arm gay people, right? Isn't that what she said? Like, go, they're coming for you. Go get your guns. I'm pretty sure she said that.
She also wears a kilt very poorly.
Yeah.
She wears a kilt.
Both of those are very based. Yeah.
I think you have to have
wearing kilts.
That was pretty cool.
And
you have to have a Johnson to have a kilt. And she's got Mothman. I think Mothman is her handler. I think Lori Lightfoot is from another planet, and it's Mothman.
The Mothman? I thought Mothman was like a New England thing or a
Mothman's out in Chicago. Mothman, there's lots of sightings of him out by O'Hare, and I'm pretty sure that they're related. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Mothman brought Lori Lightfoot to us, and that's where she came from.
I'm almost positive the Mothman is like Virginia, West Virginia.
No, it's not. Don't even talk to me about it. I will fight you on this hard. You can go pull it up on Wikipedia, and then you can eat a hot dog with peanut butter.
I thought it was.
You know what? I'm going to pull it up on Urban Dictionary.
I know my cryptids. I don't know a lot, but I know my cryptids. Okay.
That's true.
I'm 100% confident.
I could typically defer to you on cryptid talk. Oh man,
I can't really see my face, guys. So it's too bright.
That's okay.
So
are you guys into the
my nostrils? I apologize.
You guys following the long deer cryptid thing that
The
Time
what?
on Earth is doing?
No.
They did like this thing where they're on like Nextdoor and they're creating a cryptid on Nextdoor. It's called the long deer.
The what deer?
Pretty long deer. So they're having people make up, Photoshop these long deers and then post them on Nextdoor. Like, I just saw this out walking the dog. It's kind of weird, huh?
I thought I was thinking like the not deer kind of thing. Maybe that was them. Seen lots of those.
No, and that's what's funny because when someone suggested the long deer, I'm like, but not deer is already a thing.
Yeah.
And the long deer is just kind of a not deer.
Yeah.
If I saw a long deer, it's like, a not deer.
They gotta do better.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure.
Into Patreon to contribute, so.
That's the issue.
Steer the conversation. Yeah.
I was thinking about it the other day, and I'm fairly convinced that the Loch Ness Monster is just like a big aquatic bird. Like think about an ostrich swimming in the water. That's exactly what the Loch Ness Monster would look like, and it makes total sense. It dies, and you don't find it for like 5 hours, and
Dude, I'm into that. I'm into that for sure, and that explained why there's like a champ. Also, it could just fly across the fucking Atlantic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It comes to fucking New York.
Well, I was right about Mothman, so you can kiss
No, you
my
weren't.
ass.
No, you weren't. How many Mothman sightings have there been in O'Hare? Go pull it up. Mothman sightings around Chicago, O'Hare.
First sighted in West Virginia, Point Pleasant.
Nobody cares about first sighted.
1966.
Nobody cares about first sighted. Where is it now?
Who is this Doom Grab? Is he a reliable source?
the Dune Grab say?
We already know that everything on Urban Dictionary is reliable and totally 100% factual.
Wait, you pulled that up on Urban Dictionary? Go to Wikipedia. That's so much better than Urban Dictionary. Much more reliable.
That really is.
Look, this is the shtick. Just go with it.
Whatever current truth is. I do like that we're now using Urban Dictionary as our main reference source.
Well,
It's really jumped up the integrity of the show. Yeah.
You're the one who pushed for it. All right. Mothman, here your Wikipedia article. In West Virginia folklore, the
I
Mothman
don't
is a
care about
humanoid.
folklore. I don't care about where. I want to know when, recently, in the past decade, where has Mothman been sighted? I'm telling you.
Can it really be the Mothman, or is it just another winged humanoid? Could it be Moth person?
I think it's got all the same features, you know,
It's
red
the 21st
eyes.
century rendition of it's Moth person now.
No, why are we gendering Mothman? He's probably got some third world, like, you know, hermaphroditic member that we can't even dream of.
Unrecognizable genitalia. You know, butterflies have eyes or visual receptors on their genitalia, so it would be safe to assume that so does Mothman.
That would help a lot.
Yeah, man. See what's going on down there.
Well, you think about like somebody like Stacey Abrams, like, you know, you can't see nothing down. I mean, you gotta like.
It helps guide the wiping rod.
It's like a flour bag, but better, you know.
All right, so looking at it, it looks like the Chicago Mothman is actually Batman trying to clean up the crime of Chicago.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I believe that one. Sure.
Yeah.
Don't even try to tell me Mothman's Batman. Get out of here.
What did I just see about Otterman? Wasn't that actually a famous person?
Otterman? What'd you say?
Otterman? I don't know. Leighton's talking about Otterman.
Well,
I saw an otter like a month ago.
That's a good transition into
Angry
Otter
man?
Is a not fat, hairy, gay person, just so you know, Clyde.
Oh.
Just to keep you up to speed here.
Yeah, speaking of Otterman,
is
a man who swims well.
Never mind.
Is our University of Pennsylvania swimmer Leah Thomas responds to critics: trans women competing in women's sports does not threaten women's sports.
Okay.
He also went on to say that he did not switch to competing as a woman from competing as a male because it gave him an advantage.
He just liked the locker room.
It just
couldn't he have just kept competing as a male, even though it's transitioning? Did
just wanted to feel more comfortable looking at the other competitor's skin. I mean, in his own skin, her own skin.
Yeah.
Whatever.
At their skin.
Yes, the skin.
Mm-hmm.
A whole lot of skin going on.
I mean, like, if you imagine being a member of that team, like, how violated would you feel to have that, like, around you there in the locker room and stuff? Like, I don't even. For all
the majority of the team wrote a letter to the coaching staff saying, "Hey, we don't want this dude on the team anymore," and the university basically just said, "Yeah, fuck y'all. This is our chance to win some national championships. We're gonna keep him on the squad."
Well, that's just like, you know, it's just so bizarre to me, right? Like, and you would think that the feminist whoever's would be in arms about that, right? Like, what kind of invasion of privacy is this by a dude, you know? But because he says he's not a dude, thinks he's something else, I guess it's okay. Where was this when I was 12? Man.
Let's see. According to
I'm reading
doctors,
about Leighton's Otterman.
According to doctors,
you guys go ahead.
Transgender female athletes have a physical advantage over their biological female opponents.
Yeah, but what doctors are those? Those are probably your right wing doctors that deny COVID vaccines and, you know, all this other stuff. Those aren't real doctors.
Dr. Michael Joyner of the Mayo Clinic said testosterone is the 800-pound gorilla.
What kind of doctor prescribes mayonnaise? What kind of doctor promotes mayonnaise? I mean, like, what? It's just stupid. Nothing. Nothing. Justin just ignores me.
I tuned out for a
Trying to
second.
see if I've
Are
got
we
a-
pro or anti mayonnaise?
I mean, for what? I think is the question.
for what usage? Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I love a little smear of mayo on my grilled cheese. Brown that bread up real good.
Mm-hmm.
I've been trying to get away from it though, because it's like really bad for you.
So
Sit down.
real
Right there.
mayonnaise or like that Miracle Whip shit?
Miracle Whip's
my,
good.
my grandma used to use Miracle Whip on like BLTs, and it was amazing. And then I bought a can of Miracle Whip by accident, and it was really kind of gross. So I don't know.
Salad dressing. Yeah, no, it's good. It's
I
good
like
on
the I like
sandwiches.
the real Hellman's mayo.
Dukes. You gotta get Dukes, right?
Dukes is good too. It's just eggs and oil. It's not bad for you.
No, well, yeah, it wouldn't be if it was that, but I mean, you look at everything else they put in that. If you made, and I've tried to make it, and I just can't ever make it right. I just can't ever do. I don't know, something about it just doesn't emulsify right.
Maybe that's more on you than on the mayonnaise.
No, I've tried it. I know multiple people that have tried it, and it's really hard to get that same consistency from at home stuff. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I get that.
Sit down. You're in timeout. Sit down.
Uh-oh. Hopefully that's his kid.
Now Clyde's got to get up off the swing and go put a kid in timeout.
Leave it alone.
Oh, there you go.
Hitler. I didn't know they had special mayo.
Do they really?
Yeah, I mean it's the Chick-fil-A mayonnaise. That's
Oh, I thought you meant special mayo, like special mayo, like
No, they're anti-gay.
infused mayo.
it's,
No, never mind.
they're the
I was thinking like cannabis infused mayo. Like, oh, it's a really good idea. But I see you were talking about Chick-fil-A mayo.
Yeah. God, mayo. Chick-fil-A is pretty good though.
Yeah, I'll fight you on that. I don't know.
You don't like Chick-fil-A?
I don't. Every time I've had it, it's just like very mediocre. And when you put that price tag on it, and then I have to sit for like through a gigantic line, I'm not pleased.
Maybe it's
I'd rather go to
regional
Wendy's.
because they're here. They're cheaper and faster than Wendy's. I promise.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
We get like this weird like outdoor double drive-through thing where you don't even talk to a box. People walk up to your car.
Yeah.
And they're scurrying around, and it's always a long line, but I'm through in like quickly.
I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
The Wendy's is right across from the Chick-fil-A, and there's always like a line around the Chick-fil-A, and there's never one at Wendy's, so I just go to Wendy's, I guess.
No, maybe that means one's better than the other.
Yeah, but every time I've had it, it's gross. I've only had it like
place nobody eats at. That's where I want to go.
Steven's right. Popeyes is better. Speaking of mayonnaise,
Popeyes is great.
Have you ever used mayonnaise when you make a cake? I've seen recipes that call for mayonnaise in cake.
I've not. My son has, because he likes to bake, and he's got some like old recipe books from like the neighbors that their mothers made for the church or whatever, and that kind of thing. So they're like a generation and a half old. But yeah, I've seen some of those recipes that call for like weird things. And that's one of them. Yeah.
I just wonder if that's what this man had made his cake with before throwing it at the Mona Lisa.
Wait, what? I can't read that. You're gonna have to share it with me.
A man in a wig was detained after throwing a piece of cake at the Mona Lisa.
How? Okay. How do you get that close to the Mona Lisa with cake?
He was in a wheelchair, so those people are allowed to do anything.
Special rights.
Well, he was pretending to be in a wheelchair, rather. I think like he stood up out of the wheelchair and yelled something insane and hurled cake at the Mona Lisa, who is protected by a pane of like bulletproof glass. So she was fine. They just had to bring out some dude with a squeegee.
The Mona Lisa is better defended than school children in the United States.
Oof.
I guess there was an
Oof.
acid
I had
attack
to. I had
in like
to.
the 50s.
I had to.
Yeah. So after the acid attack, they took precautions and put up glass.
Is that the first time we've seen an acid attack? That's interesting. So the attack on the Mona Lisa spurred all these other acid attacks in like the Middle East or wherever. Or
Oh
by.
shit, he's 36. It could have been any of us.
Well, I don't know. I tend to stay away from artwork. Kind of bores me. So
He's detained and sent to a psychiatric unit.
where is the Mona Lisa?
The Louvre,
Which is where? That's France, right?
France,
Yes.
yeah. Paris, I believe.
I told you I don't pay attention to artwork.
You uncultured.
Yeah,
swine.
me either. If you ask me where any great piece of art is, I'm going to tell you it's there, and I'll might be right. I don't know. It's the
Either
only.
there.
It's either
there
there
or the
or on tour.
Smithsonian.
Yeah, I don't know anywhere else.
If it's something if I know the artist, then it's one thing. You know, I'm kind of like, okay, I have some buy-in, I have some connection. If it's just some obscure guy crapping out paint onto a canvas, like I don't care. You know,
We've got the Salvador Dali Museum here, and it's a good afternoon once or twice in your life.
yeah, but I feel like that would probably be better if you,
Or high.
I don't know, use some
Yes.
prior things to go visit.
Well, yeah. You guys got to like throw the asterisks in there, like it's not just a given. Is anybody else amazed at like how the Mona Lisa is so like the famous piece of art? Like it's not that good, right? Maybe it's good. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like anything special.
I don't know. I mean, it does the eyes, right? Like it's always looking at you, kind of.
And there was
I
a
think
thing that
it's
it was stolen and they got it back. So
I guess.
I mean,
I think it's one of those early pieces too that first really started using like math in like the painting process and used it to space things out in terms of, you know, I don't know, proportion, mathematically speaking, stuff like that. It was like very
Is that
unique
why
and
her
cutting
face
edge.
looks
I don't
so
know.
symmetrical?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I don't know. I don't know.
I mean, isn't that kind of like even in the time when that was painted, she's still like maybe a 6.
Yeah, but you didn't see the rest of her.
oh yeah, maybe that caboose, you know.
I mean, that's that the rest of that painting is hidden away in the Vatican somewhere.
She was dragging one hell of a wagon, if you know what I'm saying.
Got that
It
butterface
took up
going
2 other
on.
paintings.
It's a whole mural. There's like 5 paintings that you just gotta attach on there.
Bitch be looking like a Pegasus. Oh, there's a rumor that it's actually a dude, right? It was like Leonardo's like lover.
I have heard that as well. Yes.
It's more
That's
fun to think that
interesting.
that's the case.
All right, guys, we gotta go. All right,
Oh,
This is like
someone's
the
calling cops.
shortest
Let's get out of here, guys.
This is
I
like the
heard sirens.
shortest trip to the park ever. The cops roll up and they're like, "Look, homeless guy. We got to get him."
No, they didn't like my 40.
See,
No, that brings me down the park.
his shtick is he brings 4 kids and then nobody notices when he leaves with 5. You know, it's a little bit easier.
That's the trick. If you go with numbers, it's just like, okay, you know, came with a bunch, left with a bunch. All right, we're good. You can leave them that way too. It's pretty easy, you know.
And then you have I didn't even know I got so many damn kids.
I'm
Get out of
sorry.
here. What are you doing?
No, we had quite. My son was, yeah. If I knew how to mute
Clyde
it
in
and like
action.
cancel myself, I would mute and cancel myself, but I don't know how to do that. So you're gonna have to deal with me.
I can mute you if you want me to.
Yeah, go ahead and mute me. I'll be back in like 5 minutes.
You want me to mute you or remove you?
Leave.
He figured it out.
Oh, yeah, man. Clyde on the Move was kind of entertaining.
He
Get
has
some action.
definitely done the mobile show better than the rest of us. Like
Yeah.
we're always boring, like sitting in our trucks or something. He's on a swing set in a park yelling at kids.
Yeah. I had a Chinese fire drill. That was about the peak of the excitement. It wasn't even that exciting, so it wasn't a stoplight. So it was just a Cambodian fire drill. I don't know. That's all I got.
I put gas in my truck. That was. I guess the first time I did this remotely was the Christmas episode, and it was funny because it was my stepdaughter's birthday over the weekend, and we were talking about when we did the show. She said, "Was I actually on your show when that happened?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I totally turned the camera on you and had you like say something when we were doing the show." And she was like, "Are you sure?" I was like, "Yeah." So we had to go back and watch it, and that was when we called you a garbled monster or something because we couldn't. For some reason, the audio was coming through funny in my truck, so I couldn't understand or hear anything y'all were saying. But apparently, I was coming through the same way on the other end. I don't know.
What a mess. I'm glad to see we've gotten so much better since then.
We are definitely like at that time we were probably like a 3, and now we're rocking that solid 4.5.
Hell yeah. It's rated inches, right?
Yes, something like that.
I'm just saying we don't got to get to a 10, but a 6 is good.
Speaking of things that are kind of sad, I don't know. That's a terrible transition, but not as terrible as this. You tell us what's going on here, Dag.
So the headline is "Patients Keep Getting Charged for Crying," and I thoroughly scoured this for like this is a what's not parody? What do they call it? Like Babylon Bee. Starts with an S. Anyhow, you know what I mean.
Satire.
Satire. Jesus Christ. Yes, that's it. Thank you. I was convinced this had to be satire, but I don't think it is. Apparently, there's a billing line that is like emotional assessment, and they can charge you a quote emotional assessment up to 4 times per visit at a doctor's office or whatever. So if you cry or something or whatever they deem okay to bring this up for, they have to assess you and make sure you're not a danger. So they see you crying and they have to go, she's probably fine. She's about to have surgery, and then they get to charge you for that. So that, and they have like some quotes from like seminars and shit for like doctors on like how to run like a business. And they talk about like the fact they're like, oh yeah, if you see a patient 16 times, you can get an extra $400 out of them by charging us up to 4 times a visit, and it's just like a sales thing, a way to increase ticket sizes. So just like in retail, hey, how can we on every ticket, hey, you need a pair of headphones or a pair of what the fuck ever, some add-on shit. Just same kind of thing for them. But they're basically saying that some people, like it's as little as like a $4 charge. I think Medicare pays like $11 on it or something, but that they've seen some people charging like hundreds of dollars for this. So just another big bureaucratic medical administration nonsense thing.
Because obviously it's all about your health and your well-being, not about milking you for every penny you've got.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And the fucking insurance. But yeah, I was convinced that was satire. I could have looked up another article to confirm it, but I didn't go that far. I just checked that article to see if it told me it was satire. So it's the kind of work I do for you good people.
Well, speaking of things that I thought was satire or just a joke or not actually serious, Clyde shared this with us, and I thought there was no way that this was a real thing, but sure as shit it is. Slasher horror Winnie the Pooh movie is very real. So for those who aren't aware of this and haven't heard of this, Clyde, why don't you give us the rundown on the terrifying Winnie the Pooh horror movie?
I don't know. I didn't read it, saw it. No, but the IP ran out on Pooh, and there was another one I think that went into like the public domain, and that I think that happened like within the year, maybe like 6 months ago.
In January.
Okay, yeah. And so, like, as soon as that comes up, somebody's got to get a hold of it and wants to make a slasher film with poo. I don't know. There's nothing more to it. Like, so yeah, I mean, this is the quality of human we have on this planet right now.
Oh, it's terrifying. So it's got to just be like a person in a poo costume. Like obviously that's what it is. It's not a real genetically engineered bear or anything. But like, I'm just saying, like in the movie, is this just like a slasher in like a poo mask, or is it like a bear person? It looks like it's supposed to be a mask.
According
I
to
think
this
it's a mask.
article,
It reminds me.
no. According to the article, it takes a okay. Christopher Robin goes away to college and abandons Pooh and Piglet and all the creatures of the forest. And so now, years later, they've basically become feral and are like ravenous killing machines.
That's pretty cool.
I mean, it's an interesting twist. It's like Toy Story 3 goes to hell.
It reminds me of there's an X-Files that it reminds me of, like some backwoods like family that had all been like inbred for years, and this is what came out, or like Deliverance kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's what this guy reminds me of.
They just wanted to be left alone, though.
I don't know.
Ever since the
Kinda
War
like-
of Northern Aggression.
Kind of like that episode of Rick and Morty where
you wonder about that. What did Christopher Robin do to them in the woods that would lead them to do that?
Yeah, we were all 12 once,
I was just saying.
it's like that
giant
episode
stuffed
of
bear,
Rick
what
and
are you
Morty
supposed to do
where
with
Come here, little bear.
Rick creates like an alternate dimension for his daughter to go play in, and then she takes her friend with her, and he ends up getting trapped there. And they go back and revisit the dimension when she's an adult and find out that he's just been like fucking all the creatures of the place and turned it into this big crazy like monster fest.
Been eating them. Now it's time to
I
make
don't
dinner.
know
If you
that.
catch my drift. Oh fuck! It's so good.
So anyway, I'll probably go see that. Hopefully,
Yeah,
it'll
are
come
you-
out
are
on
you
HBO
into
Max,
that
and then I don't have to go to the theater.
What's that?
Are you into that sort of genre?
Into the what genre?
Horror movies? Yes, I'm very much into
The-
horror
the-
movies.
The slasher, that stuff. Winnie the Pooh. Being,
I mean,
slasher stuff.
I enjoy Winnie the Pooh, and I'm also a fan of slasher and horror movies. So this seems like a really demented mix of both.
Yeah, fair enough.
There's still
I think we're realizing Clyde's in Georgia.
Dude, whenever you get out of the woods,
Your kids are coming through loud and clear.
yeah,
But I'm having some trouble
you,
with
on
you.
the other hand, we cannot understand like anything you're saying.
Uh,
So in this article, it also mentions like how Alice in Wonderland, when it became like public, that there were like horror type versions of Alice in Wonderland.
What
There's
about
that
adult?
game, that computer game that was awesome.
Yeah, and then there was it also talks about. Let's see, this was odd, I guess. It also in the article it talked about like the Wizard of Oz and like the Return to Oz. But I'm gonna mute your kids.
Yeah, do that. Thanks.
But in the but like the Return to Oz, even though the movie was kind of terrifying, like it was in line with the book, and like I think everybody got kind of spoiled by the Judy Garland Wizard of Oz, like, but the book was a little bit more it was a little bit more on the edgy lines than what that original movie was. Like I think they really downplayed it and made it more kid friendly for the original, and then when you get the Return to Oz, then you kind of get to see like Frank Baum's actual world coming to life. Granted, I mean it's kind of a similar idea as like this with the Pooh in the future. Like Dorothy leaves and comes back later, and Oz has kind of fallen into disarray, and things have gone batshit crazy. But
Are we talking like Christopher Robin, 12-year-old Christopher Robin and Pooh Bear as suggested earlier? Like Wizard of Oz stuff? Like was Dorothy out there with a lion? Or like I never knew that there was a weird side to Wizard of Oz.
You never saw the Return to Oz?
No. Why would
It's
I see
got
that?
this scarecrow and
The Scarecrow was in the first one.
Scarecrow's
No,
a heroin addict though, in this one.
it's a different kind of scarecrow.
Oh.
This one has like a pumpkin for a head, and it's kind of freaky looking.
Like Rosie O'Donnell.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I never
Like
read
Rosie
the book or anything. My sister was always drawn to the Wizard of Oz, and she read the books or the book and everything, and she was like, I don't remember what it was she told me, but it's like, oh, it's actually about like the fucking Bolshevik Revolution or some bullshit. I don't know. I'm not saying that's the actual example, but it's something like that, or it's about communism or something. But I don't remember what.
What do you think about the Wicked Witch and how like kind of oppressive she was? I guess the wizard was kind of this. I don't know. What was the wizard? Was the wizard a bad guy, or was he just kind of like this? Entity they put on a pedestal, and then they find out he's just like a normal human being kind of thing.
I don't know that the wizard was necessarily a bad guy.
Was he like Zordon?
I mean, he wasn't. Who?
All right, so here's 7 theories of what the Wizard of Oz is really about.
Zordon from Power Rangers, the floating head in the tube.
Oh, okay, I got you.
So one of them is a parable on populism and American monetary policy. Sees Wizard of Oz being about the collapse of the populist movement in the United States at the turn of the 20th century. It's a religious allegory. Something about Christians and faith. Atheist allegory. That God, the wizard, isn't real. Feminist allegory. Anybody who had no power
throw a little water
was
on
female. Yeah, Dorothy and the witches and such.
Put a little water on, wash that bad boy, and they ain't nothing.
The Jungian thing, so something about the gold standard. Inadequacy of adults.
He was covering all the bases.
The Glinda conspiracy theory, saying that Glinda, the good witch, might have actually been the evil person in Oz. There's explanations of all these, but I'm not going to read them all. So there we go.
Did you see?
Yeah, see, I'm like what Leighton's saying there. I think that's at least a good, I think that's pretty solid takeaway of that, whether or not that's what they intended.
Did you see the movie Oz that came out a few years ago? Probably not. You don't watch new movies. You only watch stuff from like the 80s. It was with James Franco and what's the chick from that 70s show?
Which one?
The annoying one.
Mila Kunis?
Yeah.
Tunes?
Yeah. So she becomes like the Wicked Witch of the West, and James Franco ends up becoming the wizard, and yeah. So the Franco one does blow, but it kind of has the intent of giving like a backstory of how he becomes the wizard and she becomes the Wicked Witch and all of that stuff, and it does kind of paint the witches as not necessarily as nefariously evil as what they are in the. I don't know. We're supposed to talk about that sometime, aren't we? I don't know how much I like this re-characterizing the villains as like this sympathetic character that isn't actually evil. Like, I want my villains to be fucking evil. Why do we have to paint them as something nice and and misunderstood. Like, I just want my villains to be horrible fucks.
Well, I think maybe it adds a little more touch of like realism because it's like people typically aren't cartoonish villains. Like we say like our big super villains like in real life, name any very up there, politician, right? But it's like, it's like, okay, they still like, I don't know. They're just not the same thing as a cartoonish supervillain. And I'm not saying that you're wrong. Like I definitely understand that. It does make it easier to be rooting for one side versus the other. There's shows that do it kind of interestingly. Like, okay, so like you have some movies or shows or whatever where the cops are the bad guys, but the criminals are the good guys, even if they're still doing bad things. But that's just the way it's presented. You have shows like The Wire that kind of show like both, and you're kind of rooting for or hating on both. So like those are kind of interesting too. But yeah, it's kind of like making a villain in fiction is an interesting task, I guess, because yeah, there are a lot of ways to approach it. I guess if you're really into comic books and superheroes, I guess I can see you really liking that crazy supervillain, mad doomsday, what have you thing. It has to be that extreme.
Like Thanos in Infinity War. It's like, I kind of get it. I think he's right. I was sort of cheering for him.
I don't know. I don't get the reference. I'm sorry.
Magneto was also right. Like I see. I always end up.
See, that's the thing, though. You have to have some sort of, okay, it's like in pro wrestling, the face and the heel, right? And some people go for one or the other, but you have to have that, like, there has to be something you can, like, especially if you're a guy who likes the heels, like, there has to be something with that you can identify, even if it's just because, fuck it, it's funny, like, there has to be something relatable there, though. I feel that. Otherwise, it's just like a volcano. It's just a bad thing. Like, but there's no story. There's no person. There's no character.
Yeah, I guess I can. I get that. I don't know. I always find myself kind of on the side of the villains. I think it's my brother's fault. That's what we're going to blame it on my brother. Because when we were kids and like we had our big toy collections. My brother was a massive pussy, and he wouldn't get the bad guys. Like, he didn't want the bad guys. He only wanted to get the good guys. So I would get all the bad guy toys. So I guess I just kind of through that aligned myself more with the villain.
Well, that's interesting, man. Actually, putting it like that is funny because it's like, yeah, you see like with kids, and I remember that, like, yeah, like some. Like, I was like, why would you, like, no, of course you want to be, like, the good guy hero person. You know what I mean? So, like, for instance, did I have, you know what? I think some of my Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle toys, I might have had some of the bad guys, but that's because I had, actually a few of them. But yeah, some people were sort of drawn to that, I guess.
Well, it's like with G.I. Joes. Like, if you're going to have a big, large-scale G.I. Joe war, you have to have Cobra to fight the G.I. Joes.
Cobra had the coolest shit anyhow. I always liked the Cobra stuff.
Right.
Like their like vehicles and stuff were cooler. Yeah.
Yeah, they always had the really creative stuff. Like G.I. Joe was just a bunch of basic ass army bitches. Like, who wants that shit?
Go hop in your Jeep, Cletus. Get the fuck out of here. I'm taking my super sleek submarine from Cobra.
A dude named Gung Ho and Wetsuit. Like, come on. What's wrong with y'all?
Oh,
Sergeant Slaughter. Have a cool name like Zartan.
Sultan. It's funny, like with the Leighton saying about like the 70s and 80s and the movies. It really is interesting how like movies really do have like feels like decade to decade. Like going back and watching old 80s movies and old 90s movies. It's like 80s movies, they're silly in their own way, and it's funny, because whatever. And it kind of drug into early 90s with like the Arnolds and the stupid action movies and shit. And then you get in like the 90s where movies were try to be a little more clever and cerebral, but they were still pretty stupid, but they have their own fucking thing. 90s comedies have their own feel. I don't know. Getting old's weird. Oh yeah, I remember that time. the 2000s. I watched Scary Movie 2 yesterday, and like all like the references. I mean, that movie came out in like what, like 01 or some shit, you know? So it's like they're making fun of like Nike commercials that were on air at the time, and I was like, oh yeah, I remember that.
I watched Jackass 4.5, which is like the kind of the commentary and making of the most recent Jackass movie, and they were like talking about the old movies that they had made, like the first three. It's like, man, I remember being in college watching Jackass 2. Just like I watched that every night for a month straight. I think like I would just go over and hang out with some buddies and sit around and drink and watch Jackass 2 like every night. It was great.
Oh yeah, those are good times. The CKY movies were really good back in my skating days. I remember some friends brought over Steve-O's movie one day, and we were all like tripping on mushrooms, and they put that shit on. I was like, "You got to turn this the fuck off, dude." They're like giving themselves like paper cuts and shit, and I'm like, "I'm fucking on mushrooms. I get this shit off my fucking TV. Like, this is awful." I don't think I've been able to watch it since. I do want to see the new Jackass though. We were actually talking about eating some mushrooms and going to the movie theater and seeing it.
Like I said, I watched 4.5, which is like the making of, and they're talking to the cast and the director and everybody, and it was really cool. Like the way they were kind of talking about it, because they brought in some new people, like get some fresh blood involved, and it was really a kind of a fresh take, but also very nostalgic and kind of fun. So yeah, I've definitely got to watch that.
What's this Lucha Libre? Is that the Mexican wrestling?
Yes,
I bet you that is a fucking hoot. My roommate's really into wrestling, and I was never really followed it or anything when I was younger. But between the podcasts I listened to that talk about it, and then him, like I've learned it's just such a funny thing, like, and just like the history behind it, the people who are in it, like characters and behind the scenes kind of shit. It's just so fucking crazy. I almost feel like I missed out not being into wrestling, you know? Oh hell yeah.
Well, let's see. Speaking of, we'll close on this. Speaking of lucha libres and all that masculine wrestling and shit like that. Gun control activist on MSNBC claims that gun ownership is wrapped up in identity of masculinity and racism. I tell you what, the entire reason I bought all of my guns is because I wanted to feel more masculine and I wanted to exercise my racism. That's it.
I wanted to feel like my penis was bigger, and somehow owning a gun does that. That's also why I have a truck. Have you noticed? Because someone pointed this out in the Lee Enfield, M Block Press. He pointed out, he's like, watch, they're starting to change gun control to gun safety. Like he quoted like Bernie Sanders and like Kamala and like somebody else using gun safety instead of gun control. Like it sounds less authoritarian, you know. But I hadn't particularly noticed that yet in other sources. I'm gonna keep looking now though.
Well,
I love coordinated vocabulary changes.
It's like with the abortion thing, they've changed pro-choice to women's health.
Yeah, and they say reproductive rights.
Yeah, reproductive rights, women's health. Like they've taken away. It's not pro-choice anymore because that word "choice" kind of gives the insinuation that you are choosing to kill the child. So you got to get rid of that. It just makes it sound.
It's just healthcare.
Yeah, reproductive rights, women's health care. You know, it makes it sound like it's just a normal medical thing. It's not a decision to, you know, do away with a living being. Yeah, and I have seen it some, not a whole lot, but yeah, gun safety is becoming the more of the buzzword than gun control. I don't know.
Yeah, seeing on the news this morning, my local one, that they're all meeting in Washington to discuss new gun regulations and this and that, and they're trying to, I guess they're in Congress, they're doing a thing to like ban the sale of new high capacity magazines like nationwide, but like, you know, that stuff never goes anywhere. Otherwise, we can just print them. So whatever. Not like there aren't already like millions and millions of them in existence.
Let's see. Well, it is a force, and it's a force because gun ownership isn't just about the NRA. It's about an entire identity, and it's intertwined in many ways, like a braid with our notions of masculinity, racism, and guns. It's those three issues that we have seen over decades really strengthen and grow within the conservative movement. So, conservatives are all about masculinity and racism, and so guns just
the
goes.
NRA. The NRA means like nothing anyhow. Like the way they talk about it is so funny.
The NRA is so insignificant. Like, how is that still such a huge talking point?
Yeah. I mean, it's almost like, I mean, for a strategic purpose, let's say from the pro-gun side, it's like, cool, let's keep the NRA around just to be the fucking punching bag, of the gun control crowd. Hey, let's just let them fucking have somebody to pick on and let Gun Owners of America quietly do good work.
Right. Like there are other really good pro-gun lobbies and pro-gun organizations that actually accomplish stuff. Like the NRA is just like this show pony that it's good for nothing. It's
yeah, pretty much. And this is one of the times where I have to admit, like as much as I don't care for political whatnot, like if it weren't for like lobbying groups, as much as lobbying sucks dick, and it shouldn't be the way the system works, if it weren't for lobbying groups and stuff like Gun Owners of America and stuff like that, like there's a chance that we would have a lot more gun control laws and everything. So it sucks. What are you gonna do?
I'm trying to remember the what's the name of the one that's been getting constitutional carry passed everywhere? Like they got it. That's why we've got it here in Indiana now. No, I can't remember the name of it.
It's going to Firearms Policy Coalition. Are they? They're good, right? Or are they a gun control one? I don't know.
I can't remember.
I'm hoping
National Association for Gun Rights. That's the one that.
Oh yeah. That's right. Yeah, I'm hoping we get it here. It seems like that'd be a move right in line with DeSantis doing, being DeSantis.
Also, man, that would be like
just expired.
That would be the most DeSantis thing he could do. Yep, constitutional carry, make it so.
Mm-hmm. I know they were talking about it, so that'd be pretty cool. Yeah, fortunately, my local tax collector office, like a few miles away, can renew my fucking permit.
Well, cool. Will Fight is heavily involved with them, and he's here in Indiana, and he's also been working with the Indiana GOP on some stuff too. So maybe
with the constitutional carry, what is it? Just if you can legally own the gun, you can carry it, or are there like certain like restrictions on like your background or whatever, even if you don't have a permit?
No, I mean you still have to be able to legally purchase the gun, but as long as you're a legal gun owner, then you can.
Okay. So as long as you can. Okay. That's easy enough.
Right. Obviously, if you're a felon or something like that, like if you're a person who otherwise would not be allowed to own a gun, then just because constitutional carry is in place doesn't mean you can now just walk around with a gun. You still have to be a legal gun owner.
Ooh, it's like even like the permit or whatever. Like, I mean, I get it, but it's like silly because like I'm not saying that I didn't realize my concealed permit expired and was expired for months, but if that were the case, I would have been committing like a felony every day and not even realizing it by just doing what I did every day, carrying the same gun I've carried. I have no new criminal record, like nothing except not having this piece of paper up to date, so being able to eliminate that fucking nonsense.
I open carry just because like I feel like anybody who's in the vicinity should know what's up. I have a concealed carry license, but I don't. I open carry, and I have never at any point been stopped and asked to show my permit. Like even before, because I think constitutional carry goes into effect in July or August here. Like, I've never at any point been asked to show my carry permit. Like, even my son and I went to Birmingham a year or so ago, and I was walking around with my 45 on my hip the whole time we were in Birmingham, and we walked past like 2 or 3 police officers in downtown Birmingham, and it's just like, hey, like,
yeah, you look like a cop though, so they just assume you're one of them.
I guess I did have a little more of a tightly shapen beard at that time. It wasn't quite as wild and woolly as it is now.
I'd like to have open carry legal here just for nothing else. I don't want to be charged with brandishing when I reach up to get something off a top shelf at the store. You know, I don't have a problem with open carrying. I probably wouldn't often, just because I like to be under the radar kind of thing. But I totally get why people do and don't. You know, I just think it's personal and situational. But yeah, that'd be pretty cool to have that legal all around. If I'm on my property, I tend to open carry because I fucking can. You know, it just feels cool having a big revolver on your hip. I don't know. My old cowboy movie fantasies.
Like, I guess for me, like, the reason I'm open carry is the reason I started carrying again. Like, I had stopped for a while, just because I have kids and a wife, and they're like, my kids, I had them shooting as soon as they were big enough to stand up and pull the trigger.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would hold the gun for them and have them kind of aim and pull the trigger. But my wife's not a gun person. Like, she's never really handled guns and stuff. So I kind of stopped carrying after we got married. But when the whole COVID stuff started happening, you see people like getting physically attacked in stores because they're not wearing a mask. It's like, no, fuck that. That's not going to happen to me.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Go ahead and head that off at the pass right there. You
yeah.
know?
And so that's part of the reason why I open carry is like, I did have a guy in a store one time, like, saw me from across the store without a mask on and like made a beeline for me. And as soon as he got close enough that he could see me, he immediately turned around and went back the other direction. It was like,
do you think people assume you're a cop? You think people assume you're a cop, or they think you're just somebody open carrying?
I don't know what the guy assumed, but as soon as he,
yeah, obviously you can't know, but
right. Like, as soon as his eyes, went toward my hip, he turned around and went the other direction. He wasn't too concerned about me putting a mask on anymore.
He's like, yeah, whatever, I'm cool with either. Just do your thing, dude.
It's like, never mind, you're fine.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
As if I'm going to shoot somebody for telling me to put a mask on.
All right. Well, fuck. This was a good show with 2.5 of us.
I know. I feel like I had some other stuff to talk about, but we'll get to it Friday. Oh, we were going to talk about the blackouts. Yes, we'll definitely talk about the blackouts on Friday.
Oh, yeah.
And not the kind of blackout that Clyde did Saturday night. Right?
Oh, mercy.
For anybody who hasn't already, go check out the night before, or the night of, as Mark wanted to call it, whatever semantics. That was a fun show.
Yeah,
we went for 2.5 hours of completely non-serious, just bullshit, and it was hilarious and fun, and a lot of Urban Dictionary references and other dumb shit. So if you haven't already, go check that out. Oh, I can run the. You know what? I keep forgetting this. We're gonna run the coffee ad for the outro today. Thank you again to our good friend Magoo for doing the coffee ad read, and we will see everybody on Friday.
Peace.
If you've ever actually listened to the Morning After Show, you'll have figured out the free exchange of ideas is tantamount to our existence. Without the ability to speak freely, we'd all be locked in a gulag right now, being forced to watch them socialist titties bounce until we succumb to their perverted degeneracy. And where would that leave you at this asinine hour of the morning? Alone, naked, crying on the bathroom floor, probably listening to 80s synth pop. You don't want that, and we don't want that for you. But that's what you're doing every time you buy some sustainable harvest, free trade, bag of free speech hating unionized beans from Trader Joe's. So stop supporting companies that want to control the way you work your tongue and support one like Run Your Mouth Coffee, one that wants everyone, everywhere to exercise their right to free speech, even if it's just to brave the ire of the Floridian population simply to say the word gay. So go grab a bag at rymcoffee.com and use code SQUAW for a sweet discount with 0 reservations. That's rymcoffee.com and use code SQUAW.